had $100,000 in student loans. I was the first person in my family to go to college, but I had no other choice. Drop the pride, drop the ego. Right now, you have some bills to pay. I was able to make over $1,000 in side hustle income alone.
Yeah.
I ended up being overeducated, underpaid. That wasn't my reality. Hi, my name is Shonnita, and I paid off $80,000 in student loan debt in 5 years.
That's crazy. What in the world? All student loans?
I had $100,000 in student loans. I have $19,000 left.
Wow.
Yeah.
What did you study?
So many people assume it's the major, but it really isn't. It's the interest that accrues over time. So I actually just studied. I was in liberal arts school. I went to school, majored in sociology, and then I went to graduate school and got my master's degree to become a school counselor, ironically, right?
Okay.
I, too, ended up in the same situation that many of the students that I was serving would most likely end up in, which is mountains of student loan debt trying to get to college.
What was the actual balance of the money you took out, and how much has it accrued now to become?
Okay, so undergraduate year, I had taken out $40,000 in student loan debt, and that was to cover all 4 years of college. I also went out of state, so there was some money that my mother was paying for out of pocket, and then the rest was student loans. It was federal student loans.
Okay.
And then, federal and private. So we maxed out all of the federal loans for undergraduate study, which meant that we had to rely on a portion of the rest of my years in college, undergraduate at least, to be relied on private student loans. So that's the Navient, all those other private lenders.
Mm-hmm.
So then when I went to graduate school, I ended up taking out a little bit more, and that came to about maybe $85,000 total. So another $40,000 or roughly that I had to take out for graduate school.
Gotcha.
So by the time I had all encompassing, it was about $80,000, $85,000 worth of student loan debt between all graduate and undergraduate.
And then interest accrued.
And then interest just piled on immediately after I graduated and that forbearance was lifted, because you get a grace period.
Yeah, 6 months, right?
Exactly, 6 months. But the caveat to all of that is that I graduated during the Great Recession. So I didn't have the luxury of getting a great high-paying job right out of college. That wasn't my reality.
Yeah.
I ended up being overeducated, underpaid.
Wow. Yeah.
Underemployed is what they call it. Overeducated, underemployed.
Let me just note here.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that you graduated the year of the recession.
Yeah.
That's my biggest shock after this.
Why?
I don't know. You look so young.
Thanks.
What were your conversations about paying for college before you actually went to university? Let's take a step back here.
Yeah.
Was there any conversation?
So there wasn't a whole lot of conversation on the how. It was just, I was the first person in my family to go to college. So I think the conversation wasn't had because they didn't want to deter me from going to college. It was just just do it. We will figure it out no matter what. Let's just do it.
We're here in the U.S.
Right.
We better go to college because that's what we do.
Exactly. And so my father is an immigrant. My mother is from the United States. So she was born and raised in the United States. So it was just kind of a matter of, you're going to do great, just go, we will figure out the rest. And so they did all the federal loan paperwork. They did the FAFSA application for me. I was not a part of the conversation.
Gotcha.
And I think that was part of the reason for why I was in such a shock later on, is because I wasn't a part of that conversation.
Did you know it was $40K when you started, or was it just at the end you?
No, I didn't. My mother took off those loans. She literally signed it. I shouldn't probably be saying this on.
She literally signed for me.
Sorry, Mom. She did it with her whole heart. She just wanted me to not have to worry about that. So she took to clear all the paperwork and everything. I didn't know how much the student loan debt that she was taking out. It was a little bit of a pride thing too.
Oh yeah.
I don't want my daughter to have to worry about this.
That's real. That's legit.
So I'm gonna figure it out. And I did well. I graduated with honors. I didn't play games. I knew it was a serious thing. And I knew the level of work ethic they put into getting me to a place where I could go go to college.
Yeah. Let's talk about that real quick, because I think if you're a parent or if you're a kid going to college and you're thinking about your parents,
right?
If they haven't really discussed finances with you, it's a hard conversation to just drop that bomb before they go to college and actually tell your kid they can't.
It is. Right, exactly. And I think that when I told her I wanted to go away to college, because I went out of state and I went to an HBCU.
Okay.
So I got some scholarships, but it wasn't enough to pay the full ride. It was one of those things where she knew I was so adamant about going to this particular college, and she was just like, I think in her heart she could not say no. It was a matter of let's figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's where she was going with it. She had some conversations. Well, at least maybe you should at least try to apply to state schools here. And I'm like, okay, but you know I'm not going there, right? Like, it's just one of those things.
Now you can look back and see how you would do it differently.
Yeah.
Moving forward.
I would definitely have worked through college. I think I would have still gone to that college, but I would have worked through college. I got work study.
Okay.
And then that was pretty much it, but it was just enough to like buy books and things like that. It wasn't enough to pay for anything substantial.
Wow.
Yeah.
So going out of college now, and what was the reveal like when you realized, oh, wow, this is all kind of on me now?
Yeah.
Handle this. What was that transition period? Was that a tough?
Oh man, I don't recommend this. But, you know, I had already had in my head that I'm going to defer my loans because I'm going to graduate school. You know what I mean? That only just kicks the can down the road. It doesn't solve any problems. But that's
very self-aware of you.
I was so I kind of understood that, but I had no other choice. Like, it was during a recession. There was no job opportunities that was going to get me anything real. So why not just go and get this graduate degree out of the way? I'm going to need it for what I want to do, for the occupation that I wanted, which was being a school counselor at the time. You had to have a master's degree.
Gotcha.
There was no way around it. And you also had to be licensed.
Even if it's like for high school?
Yeah, K through 12, you have to have a license to be a school counselor. And in certain states, now there's magnet schools where you don't necessarily have to have a license for, but the school district that I was intending on working on, you needed a master's degree and you needed to be certified.
So you defer those loans going into your master's degree. When you were getting the loans at the beginning, right? Because it sounded like parents were like, oh, just take care of it, you know, you don't have to worry. Don't want you to worry about it. Did you know in your mind that like you were the one going to have to pay these off?
Yes. You know what? That's so funny that you say that, JC, because there's a lot of people who will tell you to go to college. You know, it's not just my family. It was everyone. Like, you know, my mom's colleagues, my friends' parents, you know, people at my school, all telling me to go to college, but none of them are actually paying for my college. I'm the one.
Right.
After I graduated from graduate school, it's like, oh, okay, where's everyone at that told me to go to college? And I've got this surmountable amount of debt in my lap right now. So it was a mic drop. Like, everyone's gone. It was like a ghost town. Like, the tumbleweed was rolling.
Yeah.
No one was around.
Did you feel alone in that moment?
Yeah.
What was your mental state at?
My mental state was, oh, blank. All right, what's the plan? So I had the idea of making sure that I had jobs lined up, or at least interviews lined up before I graduated. Yeah. Like, I had already done my internship. I had already done my practicum, because those are the things that are required of you in order to get the degree. So I had already done those things and made those connections and made inroads.
You were already thinking about that before you graduated.
Exactly. But the number figure hadn't hit me until I graduated, because they don't send you that packet that says this is how much you are due in 6 months. You have this much grace period. They don't send you that until after you graduated. They're not talking to you while you're in school. They're waiting until after you graduate.
They're hyping you up.
Exactly. Oh yeah, they're hyping you up. And as soon as they know that you have finished, then maybe 3 weeks later, you'll get this packet in the mail, and it tells you all the fun stuff that you now have to about yourself.
Man, a packet.
Yeah, it's a pretty substantial packet.
My gosh.
So yeah, it tells you your promissory note when you signed it, you know, and that was years ago.
So did you end up with a job by the time you graduated?
I did, but it was not a school counseling role yet. It was actually something a little less than that, like a coordinator role or something like that, but it was still in the realm of school counseling. So I got that, but it was like $30,000. Now, when you have, by that time...
Salary.
Yeah. And so by that time, my student loans had now metastasized past $80,000. It was now over $100,000 in student loans. So $30,000 salary isn't going to cut it. You know what I mean? So I was just paying like the minimum on things until when you're fresh out of college, you have no real work experience. Maybe you worked at Target for a little while during your summer internship or something like that. Nothing that really put your foot in the sand and said, yeah.
Did you have an impression of how much you thought you were going to make?
I did. I sort of did, but that was also my fault. Like, I hadn't done the research on what the salary would be for someone working as a public servant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's something that I would highly recommend people do. Like, when you are interested in a particular profession, definitely research what the salary range is coming out, not what you're expected to get 10 years down the road. Because people like to talk about, oh, yeah, I want to be a doctor. But when you first graduate, you're not going to be making the same type of money that a doctor is making in 20 years in his career or his or her career. That's just not going to happen.
If you're in a hole, that's a small shovel.
It's a small, and so I was just paying the minimum on all of my student loans.
What was your financial education at that point?
Oh yeah, so this is when Susie Orman was really huge, right? She had her show, and I would watch it religiously. I was obsessed.
I love the "Can I Afford It" segment.
Can I afford it segment, and it's Susie Smackdown.
Yeah, I made a TikTok version of that.
No way.
Because I'm like, these youngins haven't heard of this segment.
They don't know anything about that. And that was my favorite part, the Susie Smackdown. So yeah, I used to watch that all the time, and I started to think, man, I really can't afford certain things. I couldn't afford my education. That was my Susie Smackdown moment. I could not afford my education.
Why was that a show you were on?
I don't even know how I stumbled upon it. I think it was just that one, because they do the highlights of every show before the actual show starts. So I saw that Susie Smackdown thing. I said, wait, what's this?
You got hooked.
I got hooked. So yeah, I don't know, for whatever reason, I was hooked. I liked her messaging. I liked how she communicated. I really just loved everything about her. I was just really obsessed with her content. And so that was my financial segue into my financial journey.
Wow.
That was my introduction. She was like my little shero.
What were your first action steps in tackling this mountain?
Oh, okay. So that is a whole journey in and of itself. Okay, so I finally landed a position at a wonderful school, and that school ended up closing. And literally, it was a performing arts school, and they literally shut their doors. The teachers, the principals, everybody that worked at that school, they were going to be positioned at different schools.
And was the pay higher than $30K?
It was a little bit. Yeah, it was a little bit. It wasn't crazy. It was maybe $45,000 a year. But I'm making it. I'm reaching it. I'm climbing up.
That's literally like big percentage.
Yeah.
50% increase.
Yeah. So it was nice. And so that school closed, and I was like, all right, well, I don't have any children yet. I'm not married yet. I'm going to go ahead and move. So I moved from Connecticut, where I'm born and raised, and I moved to Houston. And I said, all right, this is my opportunity because you can collect unemployment. When in that situation, when it's not your fault that you are out of work, you can collect unemployment. So that's what I did. I collected unemployment, and I moved to Houston. I took a plane, one-way flight, packed all my stuff, and I moved.
Mm-hmm.
And then about maybe 3 to 4 weeks after that, my car died, and I was unemployed. I had no car, and I had over $100,000 in debt. And I said, I need to fix this situation.
Did you have a community around you?
At the time, I think I had maybe 3 relatives that lived in Houston, so I could rely on them, but that wasn't my thing. I had some savings saved up. I was okay with that. And I had an interview lined up for a position in Houston, which I ended up getting. I didn't live and sit in that situation for very long, but that was my aha moment.
Okay.
Shonnita, you really need to figure this out. You can't keep living like this. And I said, okay. So I was forced to get a more reliable car at the time, because how am I going to get to my new job?
Yep.
So I went and got a car. It was about $12,000. No, it was $13,000. I put $1,000 of down payment on it and bought that car. So now I had car loan plus my student loan debt. Plus, I still hadn't started my job yet. Plus, I have to get an apartment now out here. Okay, you're going to do DoorDash.
Oh, snap. Okay, first of all, what was that reliable car?
So I had a Nissan 2015 certified pre-owned Nissan Sentra.
Okay.
Yeah, certified pre-owned. It had 10,000 miles on it. It wasn't bad. I was like, that's a kind of a good deal. I can do that. So it was a reliable vehicle. And so I said, okay, I got this job. That job was $54,000 a year. So I moved up a little bit more.
Yeah.
I was doing okay, but that wasn't enough to pay off my student loans. You know what? I had applied to every retail store imaginable, and I could not get on the schedule to make enough money to put extra money towards my student loans. I said, this isn't working and I'm burning myself out. And I was watching a YouTube video of some woman doing DoorDash and she was crushing it.
Yeah.
And I said, wonder if I could do that. Wow. And that changed the game.
Was there a little bit of pride in you that was thinking that you were too good for DoorDash? Because I feel like some listeners,
I know,
they see other people doing it, but that's not me.
Right. I'm never too good to do anything. Anything. Okay. But I was scared. I was like, well, what if I go into a neighborhood that's not safe? You know, what if someone notices that I'm by myself? They might try to rob me. You know what I mean?
And this is before DoorDash was as mainstream.
Exactly. And then I was also in a new city. I didn't really know the area very well. So I'm really figuring all this out within like the first month of me living in Houston with no family ties besides maybe 2 or 3 people that lived from my family that lived in Houston.
Yeah. How much did DoorDash help?
So DoorDash helped a lot. In my first year, so I'll back it up. When I started my very first night, I had $5 of gas in my gas tank. That's it. And I said, I wonder how much money I can make with $5 in my gas tank.
Yeah.
I made $50. I said, I think I can do this. That's all it takes. 2 hours of work.
2 hours, $50?
2 hours, $50.
Solid.
That was at least about maybe 2 to 3 deliveries.
Yeah, heck yeah. There we go.
I said, I can do this. And it was game over from there. Multiply 50 times 7 days a week. I worked my off.
You were working in the daytime. After work, you go in and
because I couldn't. No one was gonna be like, oh yeah, you can come in late to your, this part-time job. No, everything was like based on schedules. Whereas with DoorDash, you can literally start anytime you want, and you can stop anytime you want to. So it was the perfect side hustle for me to start and not get completely burnt out.
That's a great side hustle. I'd recommend to anyone for that.
Anyone.
Extra bucks.
Right, because you don't need to have experience. You just need to have a car, and you need to have a clean driving record, and you need to be over the age of 18, I think. So yeah, those are the criteria. If you know how to follow instructions, you can do it.
Yeah. Drop the pride.
Right. Drop the pride. Drop the ego. Right now, you have some bills to pay.
Wow. So you're working on one side of the equation, which is increasing your income.
Yeah.
But then there's the other side, which is your expenses, right?
Right.
And so what did you have to do on that front in order to free up money to put towards your debt?
So that's when I started understanding the side of being a small business owner with DoorDash, noticing that everything that I was doing is a tax write-off. My cell phone became a tax write-off. My mileage became a tax write-off. Right. And so I was able to start to subsidize how much I was spending in this little business as doing DoorDash. And now I could, when I filed my taxes, I would get some money back from all the expenses that I was accruing with doing DoorDash. I'd take that money and put it to the side. Once I started to learn that, I was like, okay, so this is great. I can take the money that I'm getting back from my tax return, obviously put that away for safety, but then I could pay off some other things and I could use that for my personal expenses. So that really changed the game for me completely.
How'd you learn that?
Your question.
Yeah, did you learn that from YouTube?
No, because at the time there was no videos about how DoorDashers could write off their taxes and understand that as a business yet. But I do have that on my channel. So I think I was going to file my taxes, and one of the tax preparer had asked me, do you do any gig economy work? And I said yes. And they had asked me, so do you have any documentation of all the stuff that you do? And I said yes. I had downloaded this mileage tracker, and it was tracking all of my mileage, and I was using that as justification for my taxes. And
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And So what were some lifestyle changes you made to help also limit expenses more?
Oh, that's a great question. So I definitely had to cut back on going out. So because I knew I'm a natural spender, I spent most of my time earning money and I distracted myself by doing DoorDash. So I'm like, okay, if I like that pair of jeans, I could probably earn the same amount of money that it would cost to buy those jeans. Why don't I just go out and earn that money?
Yep.
So if the jeans cost $75, I'm like, can I make $75 tonight? And that's kind of how I changed my logic of spending and changed it to, can I earn that kind of money in a day?
Because you feel the value of money at that point. Right. It took this amount of time to do that. And it's also another filter of why you should or should not buy something.
Exactly.
Am I really willing to give that up?
Thank you, JC. You are absolutely right. Because as soon as I saw those jeans, I was like, that took 5 deliveries to do. Those jeans anymore. That's exactly what it felt like.
Because all the way up to that point, it was just like, oh, your money source was just like loans.
Exactly.
You know?
I didn't really feel the
sweat
the sweat equity behind all of that. I did not feel that. So yeah, so gradually I was able to make like, over $1,000 in side hustle income alone. This is not even including my salary.
Wait, how much?
What was $1,000 a month I was making in just side hustle income.
Yeah.
And I was able to take that and put it towards my debt as an overpayment on top of the normal monthly minimum balance, minimum fee that they were charging me every month. So it was together combined. It looked like about $1,300 I was paying every single month. And that's how I was just like knocking it out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you at this time make a budget for yourself?
Yes, I had a budget for myself based on my full-time income. So as long as my living expenses could be supported by my full-time income, it was as if there was 2 incomes coming into my household. Like Shonnita, the DoorDasher, and Shonnita, the full-time employee.
Yeah.
Those were 2 different people, and they started work at 2 different times. And they were just coming together to do this one task. So Shonnita, the full-time income earner, she paid for the rent, the light, the clothing, the food, all of those things. Shonnita, the DoorDasher, paid for strictly one thing. She had one job, which was to get that debt down and to pay off the car.
Yes.
Remember? So I had to pay off the car first before the $12K first before I started paying down the student loan.
Wow. So I'm sure like even though you were getting this momentum, it probably wasn't a straight shot.
No.
There were probably dips in motivation.
Oh yeah, dips in motivation, dips in earnings, because there were the summertime. People aren't ordering food. They're on vacation, spending money on vacation.
I wonder why.
So I had to understand economics on top of that. So I was learning economics. On top of that, I was learning real estate. I was learning the areas of Houston. Remember, I did not know Houston. I didn't understand the different pockets of Houston, the different districts. But over time, I understood, oh, this district has a high income earning area. Why don't I go over there and try to make money over there?
That's solid. That is true. I did Uber Eats for a time. I also delivered like Papa John's pizza.
Oh, okay.
And while I was in college, so I would do it after school and whatnot. And I would listen to podcasts while I was driving. Honestly, that's why I tell people Papa John's changed my life, because like being in that car, I was like just getting all these ideas of what I wanted to do with my life after this season.
Yeah, it was a season that you were in.
Yeah.
Exactly. So now I learned economics. I know don't stress myself out and try to work all these crazy hours doing DoorDash when people are on vacation. That's probably not the best thing to do. But I can crush it during the holiday season. Why? Because they are very generous during the holiday season. They give very generous tips during the holiday season. There's parties going on where people need catering, but they can't pick it up. So DoorDash partners with a lot of companies, that offer catering services, and all they need is a driver to bring the food.
Solid. Internally, what did you have to tell yourself in those moments where you weren't feeling as motivated? Because, motivation comes and goes. Sometimes you got to rely on something more.
Yeah, JC. So there was a time where my car stopped running AC.
Okay.
And you want to talk about motivation?
Yeah.
And Houston heat.
I'm in Florida, so I know what you're talking about.
Right. So motivation with no AC in Houston heat. Yeah, I had to dig deep on that one. And the motivation was just like, Shonnita, you're almost there. You got $10,000 left, Shonnita. You're almost there. That's how many months?
True.
If you're making $1,000 a month, that's 10 months. That's not even a full year. You can do this for a full year. But I just kept thinking, okay, the way to motivate myself is to think, okay, how many many months do I have left of this? And what I would do is I would go back and look at like my first overpayment and look at the balance of what that used to look like.
Yeah.
And then I would also record everything. So I have, a YouTube channel, and I would record giving updates on how much I had been paying off every single month.
Pretty.
Yeah. And so it was sort of like I was giving my audience something to look forward to so they could kind of hold me accountable. And that was kind of how I stayed motivated, because I'm like, okay, I need some type of content to put on my channel.
Yeah.
So, I can't just like have nothing.
That's good. So you kind of had like accountability partners.
Right. I built in an accountability team.
Which people can do in all shapes and different forms. It could be your family. It could be one person. It could be a community on YouTube.
Exactly. It could
people on Reddit.
Exactly. I've seen that too, where they have these forums and everyone's sharing, how they achieve these things. So yeah, at the time, part of my inspiration for starting the channel was watching Asia Dang.
Asia Dang paid off her student loan.
She paid her off her student loan.
She's gonna get on this podcast.
No way.
Mark my words. I haven't done anything about it.
She will.
But...
I'm speaking it into existence. She's gonna get on this podcast.
Dang right. No way. I used to watch Brian Poos post her.
Oh, really?
Also, dancer.
Yeah, he's a dancer. Are you a dancer?
I had like my b-boy phase.
No way.
In like middle school, high school.
And he was your kind of inspiration.
Yeah. Nah, he's so smooth though.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, I'll play a clip here.
Okay, his skills are insane. Yeah, they're both really good dancers, actually. Yeah, he's a good dancer.
Is it like a wedding choreo?
Yeah, they're top notch. But yeah, so I was really inspired by Asia's storyline, and I said, I think I could change this to suit what I'm going through. Maybe if I created a YouTube channel where I'm sharing how much I'm paying off with doing DoorDash, that would inspire my audience, but maybe inspire me to keep going when I feel like it's 100 degrees and I have no AC and I have no way to pay for it to be fixed at the moment.
Yep.
How am I going to do this? And so that's kind of how I kind of kept pushing through.
Wow. Yeah. So you're just taking in different resources and like finding inspiration in all kinds of places.
Right. Any way I could.
Were you still watching Suze Orman?
Yes. I was still watching Susie Orman. And then of course I got into other, influencers, and that kind of just broadened my horizons and only like strengthened my narrative of, okay, let's try to get this done.
Nice.
So yeah.
So what were your first big wins when you were going on this journey?
Okay, so the very first big win was paying off the car. I was able to pay off the car in I think 18 months.
Solid. 12K in 18 months.
Yeah. So I was able to do that, and once I did that, I took a trip to Thailand.
That one was 11K.
So yeah, that was around like maybe $3,000, with the flight and everything. I did that because I needed some sort of reward. Okay, I paid off my car. And that's the thing. You have to give yourself a win. That's part of the motivation piece too. You can't just grind. Once you've gotten to a goal, celebrate the goal. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so that's what I did. I celebrated the goal. Yeah, the student loans are still there, but I needed the car first. I needed a reliable car first to get to pay off this student loan.
That's true. Yeah.
So once that got done, I'm like, okay, I'm riding in a completely paid off car. All I have is my insurance and the maintenance. I don't have to worry about anything else anymore. Oh, right, exactly. I don't have to worry about it breaking down anymore. I have something to work with now.
Yep.
And so from there, it was just like, okay, I can work as much as I want. I can do whatever I want to get this paid off. Then it was just like, okay, $5,000 wiped off my student loan debt, $10,000 wiped, and and what was great was that the interest rate would come down. The smaller your loan is, the interest rate will come down off that loan. It got easier. Like the weight started to lift off my shoulders.
It's a smaller principal now.
Exactly. It's a smaller principal.
Percentage to come off of it.
Exactly.
So because you pay off the car, you freed up that money now to be more of a snowball,
Exactly.
towards the student loan.
Yep. And then I hit my 10th year working in education. So with that, I was also able to get public service loan forgiveness.
Okay.
Because I worked in education. So that also helped me with the student loan balance as well. It didn't help me with my private loans.
Okay.
It only helped me with the federal portion.
Did it wipe out the federal?
It wiped out $60,000.
Jeez. Man, you're the second person now in my life that I'm meeting that have actually like it's worked?
It worked.
Were there like some loopholes or like little fine prints that you had to read? And
well, I think people get caught up because they don't stay consistent with the documentation that you need. So there's someone who will fill out that form one time and they think it carries over for the next 10 years. No, you have to submit that form every single year. And I just kept doing it until my 10th year. Wow. And so and they said, okay, we have complete documentation from year 1 to now that you've been A, working consistently in education, and B, submitting your public service loan forgiveness form.
Every year?
Every year.
Wow, so you were diligent with that.
I was diligent.
Was that always in the back of your head, like, I could use this resource?
Exactly. I knew I have DoorDash, but I also, if for whatever reason I get into a major car accident and I can't do it anymore, at least I've been still submitting my public service loan forgiveness form, and vice versa. If public service doesn't work out, at least I've been doing something with DoorDash where I'm stacking up this money and paying down my student loan balance.
But you didn't put everything on, like...
Yeah, there was no one basket. No.
Rely on that?
Absolutely not. No, I did not do that. I did not rely on any of that.
Yeah.
No. If it happened, it happened. If it didn't, it didn't. Mm-hmm. But I was still paying off my student loans regardless.
100%. If you're diligent enough to be willing to do DoorDash and to like still work as if everything relied on you.
Yeah.
I think that's when like the unexpected things happen.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Exactly.
You're just opening yourself up to more opportunities because you are being diligent.
Right.
Everything you do.
Exactly. Man. That's exactly right.
That's a big win. So a big chunk, 60K, gone. And then how much was left?
20,000 gone, 19,000 left.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you took care of that.
Yeah. So the car was paid off. 2 of my giant student loans are paid off. Now just a little private student loan is left.
Heck yeah.
That's it.
And how long did that take off to finally?
That took a total of combined 5 years to get all that done.
So
yeah.
And how did your income change throughout that time? Journey?
So yeah, when I started, beginning from when I got laid off till now, I was making $30,000 and then went up to, I don't want to disclose what my salary is now, but it surpassed $50,000.
For sure.
So that's a huge income.
Yeah, doubling.
Yeah.
Right.
So I still work in education. I didn't just up and leave because I got public service. I still work in education. I still do DoorDash.
And last thing, just to wrap up, what are some ways you want to bless others now that you have this freedom, now that you have this greater financial peace?
Oh my goodness. So I definitely want to use the time, because now I have my time back.
Okay.
And so I'd like to create more content for people that's free and available for them to access when they need it so that they can learn from my mistakes. I want to be more transparent with the type of content that I create so it can help other people.
Nice. And do you have a family?
No, I don't have any children just yet. I wanted to make sure that my student loan wouldn't be a burden on my family when I start my family.
Wow, yeah.
So I've decided to hold off just a little bit and then start.
Man, well, congrats. Thank you.
Thank you.
Check out her stuff. What's your Instagram handle, YouTube channel?
Sure. So you can find me over on Instagram. Well, mainly my YouTube channel, which is Noir In Color. And my Instagram is noir_TV. And that's where you can find me.
Awesome. Thank you, Shonnita.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. That's a wrap.